Right, it's 10 o'clock and away we go. I see I've got 5 people watching tonight, which is 4 more than usual. Okay. Right, the main subject of this hangout is false allegations against women. If you have any questions, I'll take questions on that or any other subject. Let's start with some general talk about current goings on. It's a meeting in a couple of weeks' time. I think it's the 18th. It's a Saturday. I think it's June the 18th in London about miscarriages of justice. It was organised by Liam Allan and a couple of associates of his. If you may recall, Liam. Well, if you're not in the UK, Liam was he had a rape charge hanging over him over his head for about 2 years as a student, and he was accused of raping this silly bitch 16 times. I mean, over a period of time. I just don't see how a case like this gets anywhere near a courtroom, because if she keeps going back for more, that implies consent. We're not talking about. He wasn't living with this woman. She was a student as well, so presumably she's reasonably intelligent, wasn't dependent on him financially. And how the police can entertain bringing charges like that, I really don't know. It's absolutely absurd, but they keep doing it. The pressure from the sexual grievance industry, and they keep whining about the conviction rate being so low. Well, the way to raise the conviction rate is to stop bringing so many ludicrous cases. There was a major acquittal yesterday. It was yesterday. I added it to the false rape time yesterday. Bloke called Oritsé Williams. He's a singer-songwriter in Wolverhampton. In December 2016, he gave a concert in Wolverhampton, and he invited a fan back to back to his hotel room, and he and his tour manager who ended up charging him with raping her. He was acquitted. As he left the court, he was in tears, but I can understand why. If he needed more tears, he would be convicted. But his evidence says that they engaged in consensual sex in his hotel room. But this ended in embarrassment, and he was unable to perform sexually. Well, if he'd been performing on stage and maybe having a few drinks and maybe other things as well, that's hardly surprising. The what happened next was his tour manager, Jamie Nagahana, decided they wanted a threesome, and nothing much happened. And the woman told the court that she lay like a dead body during sex, which she said she didn't want to happen. I just froze. If you haven't seen it, check out the video I made. So I put it on the Internet Archive. These bitches are playing you. I just froze. It's absolutely ludicrous. These women are pathetic. Now, I think there were 8 women on this jury. I think it's just to check. No, not that report. Well, one report I think said 8 women and 4 men. So obviously, ordinary women, especially older women, don't tolerate this sort of nonsense. They won't tolerate it. There's been a push by man haters like Julie Bindel to abolish jury trials in this country, the same as they have in Canada for rape. Rape doesn't exist in Canada. It's called sexual assault. And it really is outrageous. What I mean, these cases like this should never get near a courtroom. I mean, check out the entry on the timeline for Camille Parley says about date rape. They're just pathetic. The UK media is continuing to attempt to brainwash the public at large with the media. I mean, soap operas. I haven't watched it, but when we watched it, there's a female paedophile line in the Emmerdale series. I mean, Emmerdale's only a small village, but they had more murders than in Northern Ireland at the height of the Trouble. So it's just and rapes as well. There was also a rape scene which caused outrage because it was screened before the watershed. It was Daffy girl named Victoria. She's one of the regulars. She invites a guy back to her place. She ends up raping her, and she screams and fights. And I mean, because it's before the watershed, it was implication rather than actual graphic scene. And as the guy leaves, you see her lying on the bed, face down, and she's bruised. Now, and the next scene, she's. So I didn't watch it, but I see the preview clips. The next scene, somebody knocks on the door in the morning. She opens the door. She's wearing a dressing gown. She's obviously had a bath, and she says she's feeling ill. No. What would happen there in a real rape situation like that? It should have phoned the police probably immediately. Give her an hour or two to get her composure, get her a shock, but usually they phone immediately. Police would have come. They would have, should be taken away for forensics and stuff and medical treatment. Guy would have been arrested. He quite likely have pleaded guilty. And if he hadn't pleaded guilty, it'd be almost certainly been convicted. Don't believe any of the rubbish. Don't believe any of it. It's propaganda. The idea with this and with the female paedophile thing is to I think the kid she's meant to be abusing is about 14. If anyone knows anything about the age of consent, the age of consent in England was 13 in 1875, and it was raised in 1885 to 16 after a moral panic instituted by W.T. Stead. The first age of consent set by the Statute of Westminster was 12, and it was usual for to marry early, and then the convention was that if the girl didn't have sex until she'd been through puberty. If you look back through history, you'll find kings and queens married young, and aristocrats. You had a dowry system and everything, and arranged marriages. So the idea that a 14-year-old boy is psychologically damaged by getting sex lessons from a slightly older woman, from a much older woman, it's different for girls. Don't let anyone tell you it isn't. But the whole purpose of these programs is to indoctrinate people to garner male support for the erosion of due process. Don't let anyone kid you it isn't. Okay, now we come on to the main subject of the live hangout. Well, just say one other thing: sex on trial. If you're in the UK, you can catch this on Channel 4. It's the third episode. I've just watched the third episode, which was about the notorious Steubenville case, which was definitely sexual assault, but not comparable with some of the really horrible cases. But check out that series. I've written sort of 3 reviews on the medium.com website. Right, now the main subject is I'll be dealing with false allegations against women in no particular order. First of all, false allegations generally. False allegations are extremely common, not just of rape or sexual assault, all manner of things. False allegations involving insurance fraud are very common. What is common with insurance and the like is for there to be a genuine crime and for the victim to overstate the value of goods stolen, be it a private dwelling or commercial premises. So I'm not tired. I shouldn't be tired. I've had plenty of kip. So false allegations for financial reasons and just for the sake of it. I mean, you've only got to look at. I mean, check out some. Just Google false reports. Look at the freedom of information requests from your local police force. I mean, people phone the ambulance for ambulances and the fire brigade and report all sorts of imaginary crimes. Some reports can be genuine mistakes. You know, I mean, if you see 2 big men forcing a woman into you see 2 big men forcing a woman into a car, a small woman into a car. You might dial 999, but if she turns out she's being arrested or be taken back to the loony bin, then you know, I mean, there can be genuine mistakes made. People have been convicted of murders that never happened. Some murders staged to look like suicide. Well, some suicides look like murder. And you know, so false allegations with and without malice are extremely common. False allegations against women, they can be famous or infamous, wealthy, or just ordinary. For example, Hillary Clinton has been accused of rape. Not Bill Clinton, well, he has as well, falsely. But Hillary Clinton, not aiding and abetting, but actual rape. If you check out the ravings of Cathy O'Brien, which you'll find online, and it's really amazing that an absolute lunatic like O'Brien has got so many followers, but sadly there are quite a lot like her. There's Teal Swan. There's an absolute raving nutter in America, in Australia called I forget what her name is now. She's come up with all sorts of bizarre stuff. Right. Well, I mentioned Kelly Michaels. This is more child sexual abuse. I'll do a separate hangout on child sexual abuse, but Margaret Kelly Michaels, to give her a full name, is who's that? Somebody said sorry, just somebody on YouTube. Contact them on YouTube. I'll put this on. I'll do a separate segment on this on child sexual abuse at some point. But Kelly Michaels was a young woman who she wanted to be an actress, but she ended up working in a nursery in New Jersey, the We Care Day Nursery. And one of her charges told his mother that I think she took him to the doctor, and he was administered a rectal thermometer, and he said something about Kelly does this to us, and she ended up being charged with absolutely ludicrous. I just play a bit of her interview, a 2003 interview with Oprah Winfrey. She was convicted of. She spent 5 years in prison. This poor kid. She was cleared. It was a journalist named Dorothy Rubinovitz who succeeded in getting her, who did all the legwork, and she went for appeal. And it's just amazing that, just listen to this. You find the documentation of it, some of the things she was accused of, and these cases are. Hopefully, we got past this by now. But this is Kelly Michaels in 2003 talking to Oprah.
What you're about to hear sounds like a scene from a movie, but it happened in real life to this woman. Watch.
When I was 23, I took a job working in a daycare.
Kelly was actually an aspiring actress. She moved close to New York City, hoping to get theater work, but took the job at the daycare center to pay the bills.
One morning, I was making coffee, getting ready for work, and there was a knock on the door. They said it was the police. They said there was an incident or an accusation of child abuse at We Care Daycare. Then they said the most horrible thing I had ever heard. They said, and when your name was mentioned, I remember my knees getting weak and leaning against the wall like I had been punched in the stomach.
In an unbelievable course of events, police took Kelly to police headquarters for questioning.
I answered their questions. I told these men the truth. At the end, they seemed to believe me. They sent me home, and I thought that it was over. And a few weeks later, I found out that it wasn't over, not by any stretch. They came to the school where I worked and said, their words, "We're going to indict your ass." That's the language they used. I was accused of playing the piano nude, playing nude games with the children, making poopy cakes with the children, inserting silverware into the children, just horrible things.
The sensational trial rocked the community for several months, becoming the longest trial in New Jersey history.
I was absolutely terrified because you were completely defenseless. You're being accused, you're being attacked, and you can't do anything but say the words, "I am innocent." They came to believe that I had single-handedly abused virtually every child in the school.
To me, she is a convicted child abuser. She belongs in jail.
When I heard the mothers or the children get on the witness stand and say they believed that I had harmed their children, it was the most excruciating pain that I have ever experienced. In the end, I was convicted of over 100 counts of child abuse. I was sentenced to 47 years. I spent a year and a half in solitary.
I mean, it's absolutely. I mean, there were a lot of cases like that. She's playing the piano nude in a nursery. Anybody can walk in and walk through. They're absolutely ridiculous. That how a case like this gets anywhere near a jury is just amazing. It shows how gullible people are and how stupid people can be. Case of Tonya Craft, another American case, isn't quite so ridiculous. This was based on this was a case of, I think, what's the phrase? I keep forgetting things. Parental alienation syndrome. Normally, parental alienation syndrome involves a woman making false allegations against her husband or a strange husband, usually of sexual abuse or despicable allegations of sexual abuse of the kids. But Tonya Craft was, she faced 22 counts. These were a lot more credible. One of the alleged victims were her own daughters. She was defended by Demosthenes Larandos, who's an incredibly dynamic attorney. He's also a qualified psychologist as well as a lawyer. And she wrote a book after it, co-wrote a book after it, of it afterwards, which quite a lot of publicity. So let's say it can happen to you. Right, we're coming now to Amy Partington. This is more of a silly case. It isn't. A case like this isn't silly for somebody who's convicted. Yeah, this is from September 2014. Amy Partington was the allegations started in 2014, and they date to December 2000 to between December 2000 and 2002. And she was a minor herself, and she stood trial in Manchester in February 2017. Was cleared. So all 7 charges in 50 minutes. It's absolutely ridiculous. Say when she was a minor herself, but they take these cases. Another case involving a purported delay is Caroline Keeling. This is an older woman. She was a retired home tutor, and in September 2015, she stood trial and was cleared of historical sexual offences against one of her former pupils, who was a junkie, turned to be a junkie. The first trial got nowhere, but she was cleared at a retrial. If I've made a live hangout on this subject of not historical allegations. I'll do that in due course, but delay, contumelious delay. The point is that rape cases are usually said to be he said, she said. In reality, they are she said, he said. The allegation comes first. In fact, most rape cases are not she said, he said. They are she said plus physical evidence, he said. But with an allegation of any historicity, no evidence is required, only a story, no corroboration. In fact, most of these cases, there can be no corroboration. The accuser is free to give as much or as little detail as she likes. In some cases, he likes. If you have one of these trawling cases involving care homes and children's homes and the like, as much detail as little detail. Any lapses of any errors of chronology or anything else can be put down to lapses of memory. Cases like this are outrageous, but they still bring them. Many countries have statutes of limitations. As you may know, there's been an attack on statutes of limitations in the United States, spearheaded by Gloria Allred, the odious Gloria Allred, and also there's one or two organisations which campaign to remove statutes of limitations, and they use the same deceptive rhetoric, dishonest rhetoric that these organisations always use to bring healing and closure and justice for survivors. Survivors indeed. Maggie Kirkpatrick. This is another falsely accused woman, and again, this is of an historical nature. Maggie Kirkpatrick is an Australian soap actress. She might be retired now. She was charged in July 2015 with historical offences of great historicity. She played a lesbian prison officer in a TV series. She's a married woman, so she's. I don't think she's lesbian or even bisexual. She's not so young now, of course, and she's a sort of stern-looking person. So, but she was convicted, and then the case went for appeal, and she was acquitted on the retrial. This is a short video of her speaking after the case.
I found it very scary, not knowing what the outcome was going to be. The bottom had fallen out of my world. It was like being hit with a baseball bat, really.
Now, do you remember meeting your accuser those 30 years ago?
Yes, I denied nothing about my visits to her and to inviting her to my home, which is something that would never occur today, Craig. There would be no way that a publicist from a network would allow a fan to be alone with one of their stars. But those were different times, different climes, and I was used to visiting people. I was used to answering requests to visit people, sick people in hospitals, people in their homes, and this seemed to be no different.
So you had it to your place for a meal?
So I don't think I want to talk about that situation or her ever again. They're pretty awful words, guilty, not guilty, charges.
Could file that one under no good deed goes unpunished as well. Yeah, I mean, it's just, and as you may know, if you're in the UK or if you've been following similar cases, we had this Operation Nutrient Madness following the death of Jimmy Savile, who I'm now convinced was totally innocent. I've commented on the posthumous witch hunt of Savile and how it was done by Surrey police and these total imbeciles. Right, what we got here? We've got another one here. Let's see. That clip is on the timeline. Yeah, the San Antonio 4. This is another American case. San Antonio, of course, in California. These are 4 women who happened to be lesbians, and they were accused of was it Christine Mayhew, Elizabeth Ramirez, Cassandra Rivera, and Ana Vasquez. Two girls went to sexually abuse 2 girls who made it up afterwards, and they spent they were given ludicrous sentences. The case against them collapsed eventually. There was a documentary southwest of Salem made about them. So I mean, it doesn't happen to women as anything like as much as men, but it certainly can and does happen to women. Well, I will take a few questions if anybody's interested. Anybody? A minute or so to think about it. So I've got 4 people watching now. I'm really very disappointed with the turnout. Not with you, but with the turnouts in Germany. But I'm going to keep making these. I'm going to do one on the Grand Conspiracy. As you may know, there's a bloke who called himself Nick. He's on trial at the moment. He was responsible for this ludicrous VRP paedophile scam, which ran in the UK. After Operation Newtree. He's on trial for making false allegations. Hopefully he'll be convicted. After that, I will do one on maybe on the Grand Conspiracy, because there's a lot of this ludicrous stuff about, if not necessarily VRP paedophile rings, but elite paedophile rings. The grain of truth in them. The modern version appear to be the Jeffrey Epstein allegations, which again have been grossly exaggerated. So I'll do one on that. I also want to do one on child sexual abuse. That'll be quite those two hangouts will be fairly lengthy ones, probably, because I've got a lot to inject into them. Any questions? No. Well, I would just like to I'd like to end with there's a young woman, a young mother in prison, HMP Bronzefield at the moment. I believe she's still there. A woman named Marie Black, who she's a mother of 5. She had 4, I think it's 5. She had 4 of her kids taken away from her. She was in an abusive relationship with this guy, and she either married again or she married, and she was living in France with her I think her husband and a new baby, Luna. She's now in prison for a lengthy prison. She's been convicted of being the head of a paedophile who's meant to have pimped out her own kids to be sexually abused. Now, the ridiculous thing about this paedophile ring is that it contained, of the 10 members, 6 were women. Now, no, I'm afraid, no, I don't go along with that. I believe there was one woman was convicted of actual physical abuse of a kid, which can mean almost anything. But Marie Black, I had some correspondence with her. I actually made a video about her. You'll find it on YouTube and on Internet Archive. I haven't had any contact with her for a bit. She's in HMP Bronzefield, where the gullible but well-meaning and tragic Sabine McNeil is at the moment, and also the monstrous Joanne Dennehy, a female serial killer or spree killer, an absolute monster. Marie Black, I'm convinced, is totally innocent. There's a woman whose name whose name eludes me at the moment. She followed the trial, and this was a complete stitch up by the NSPCC, where they indoctrinated these kids into believing that horrible things happened to them. I don't think there's any physical evidence at all, apart from the one kid who was slapped or something. So spare some thoughts for Marie Black. I don't usually go off on a tangent about, well, it's not a tangent, but I don't usually go off on people who've been convicted like this. I run the Michael Stone website, and I'm convinced he's innocent because the case against him is ludicrous. From what I've seen of the Marie Black case as well, this is a young woman who should be, she should be in France living with her husband and a daughter. It's part of having other kids taken away from her. It's really tragic. So anyone who wants to look into that. Right, well, I'm still adding to the International Forthright timeline. I'm doing a bit of work at the moment. I'm going to buy a domain for it. My domain's expiring about March of next year, but I'm probably sometime later this year I will buy a domain, a dedicated domain for the Forthright timeline, and it's going to cost me quite a bit of money. I'm going to get a new computer as well, so things are a bit tight at the moment. But I'm adding to it. I'm also doing quite a lot of maintenance on it at the moment, shrinking the files, the video. Well, I've shrunk the video files as far as I can, but there's some quite big PDF files on my other sites as well. But I'm also making editing files, text files, taking out clutter. If you look at the Daily Mail, for example, I've got quite a lot of Daily Mail web pages on the site. There's advertisements and stuff, so I'm removing those, shrinking the files. It's very labour intensive, but I've got a couple more cases to add tomorrow, and I've got a book to read over the next couple of weeks about criminal justice in New Zealand. So I'll be adding that as well, bits of that, a few pages from that. Anyone has any comments, any feedback, let me know. Any suggestions as well for cases to cover. This really is the hoax of the 21st century. The scale, the exaggerated scale of rape, especially rape, is ludicrous, and the lunatics keep attacking due process, keep whining with their contrived statistics, and it seems in Canada, I think, is probably the worst place in the world to be accused of any sexual offence, because you're guilty as soon as you're accused, and then you're guilty all over again. What happened after the Gameshi case was outrageous. These hags, Lucy Dicatere and her co-conspirators, obviously said about framing him. He's acquitted, and then they want to change the law to make the evidence inadmissible. Absolutely outrageous. Anyway, thank you for coming. I will set this video to private and then add it to YouTube in a day or two, and next month to the Internet Archive. There's about, I think, 17. Well, there'll soon be 17 or 18 hangouts on the Internet Archive. So if you want to go back over them, hopefully you'll find it of some use, and hopefully you'll never be in a position where you're falsely accused of rape. Okay, thank you for coming, and I will see you hopefully in around 2 weeks.